Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Honor the Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Ledford, and today Ava Aldinolfi and I are here to do our 5th bonus episode. Woohoo! These have gotten so much beautiful feedback, and we're just loving doing them. So today, for the bonus episode 5, we are going to drop into entering energetic space. What it means, how it feels, and why it's important. So Ava, talk to us about entering energetic space.
Okay. It's so cool. That's my first thing. So for me, being in an energetic space is, well, I mean, honestly, we're always in it, right? But
I guess it's really an intentional dropping in.
Right. And that was going to be my next point. Yeah, is that when we intentionally go into energetic space, I think it looks different for all of us, but I really operate well with the visualizing and feeling. And so for me, entering energetic space can happen in 3 breaths. Closing my eyes, taking 3 breaths, and just setting the intention of like where I want to be, what I want to see. And then sometimes that's not even necessary. So I'm thinking back, actually, I want to share back to when we went for the Gaia channeling event. Mm-hmm. It was like near Earth Day. It was meant to be on Earth Day, but it ended up being the week before. And we did this beautiful grid work. And on the, with a group of people, so a collective of people, working together to create a grid on the earth for healing. And then we all lay down on the earth, and it opened up this beautiful vortex or portal, and just laying there, you could see so much. Your eyes are closed, right? But we're able to see without our eyes. We have this beautiful ability of seeing without our eyes. And to me, that's energy space, right? So we're literally laying in a vortex, and then all of this beautiful imagery comes up. And for example, I was dancing in the earth, and it sounds kind of crazy to say it here, but yeah, just dancing in the earth. And actually, my current partner energetically showed up and danced with me, and that was really cool to feel. And yeah, it's just amazing what can happen there. It's almost like watching a movie and you let it unfold, but you can feel the movie because again, it's energy. It's so part of our being. And so that's just one example, but there's so many ways to access this and be in it.
Yeah. And that feels like one of the deeper dives that we've taken into energy space. And so maybe if we speak into a little bit around how you do it day to day, around dropping into the energy space of your body, and then maybe the energy space that we were playing in just a couple of days ago. So it doesn't have to feel like, oh, it's a collective of people and all those things.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yes. I definitely recommend it if you ever have the opportunity to be with a collective to do that. I actually want to share about this weekend before I share about what it's like in my body, which I guess that, but there's in my body for that too. But so, you were helping me process some stuff with my family and money and what that looks like. And so, when I dropped in and felt this person in my life, I noticed that there were cords between us. There were 3. So I closed my eyes and physically felt this family member, which, by the way, we always want permission when we're working with someone else's energy. And really, I wasn't so much working with her energy. I was working with our connection and our ties. And this is like a really close family member, just to also put that out there. But yeah, so I saw 3 strings. One was green, one was red, and one was black. And it was just the 3 that I saw. And she was at quite a distance. And so one of the things, the first thing that came up was like, I just have to get rid of this one cord. And as we've talked before, like I have this thing around connection. Like I like to stay in other people's energy. I like to stay connected to them. And these are actually cords of old stories and patterns that weren't serving our relationship anymore. And they weren't serving my growth anymore. And so I was able to cut these cords in energy space, but also still stay connected to this woman. And that was where the fear was, right? That like I was going to be severing a connection with someone I really, really loved. And I have no desire to do that. That's not in our highest good, actually. But so I found a way to clear old stories, like I said, and old ways of being, old patterning that are in my female lineage by cutting these cords, and then with the other female in my lineage, unplug. So with one, it was cord cutting. The other one was literally unplugging. Like if you think of the matrix and the way that they're like plugged in. And so unplugging those, releasing those out, shaking them off, and then creating a new pathway between us. And one where we're not actually connected by something physical and energy space though, but almost like created this like energy pathway between our hearts, where our hearts can be connected and be like in love, but we don't have anything like a tying us or locking us into those old stories and patterns. And what was so beautiful that happened literally an hour after doing that work, I received money that I had planned on receiving, but I received it like a week early. And so that's just also speaking to when we make shifts, when we do this energetic work and make changes that are for everyone's highest good, like we can then actually direct our energy in a much more easeful and more powerful way to bring in the things that we need and want.
Yeah, what comes up is the ties that bind us.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's so important to really speak into, again, these are letting go of the old stories that are no longer serving you or the relationship.
Correct.
Yeah. I have been in situations where it's a true ritual clearing, where I'm cutting ties. For good. For lifetimes and dimensions. And yeah, it was the right thing. I felt into it, and it was the right thing to do for me and for the relationship and for my family. And it has made some incredible shifts in your and my relationship, and in our program, in relationship with my husband, where I was energetically then not what I call warrioring up, and feeling in this protective state all the time. And some of the clearing that we did created space for him to really step more fully into his sacred masculine within our marriage, within our relationship. And it's shifted so many things in beautiful ways. But it's really about, again, the discernment and the intuition about feeling into what's right in a given moment. And I want to speak to a situation with my dad about, we're getting on about a year and a half ago, where I realized that my motivation for doing something was to make him proud. And that was a self-imposed structure that I had created. And that he and I had created together some, but that mostly I was imposing upon myself. And so in this particular situation, it wasn't about visualizing cutting cords and things of that nature, as much as for me to start to feel into what would it feel like if that wasn't my main motivation? Like if that wasn't underlying everything, what would that look like and feel like? And so I spent a lot of time and continue to feeling into that and how different that feels now for me and how much that has positively shifted my relationship with him because of a shift I made in my old story. And so, yeah, it can be around a visualization, like entering energy space. I didn't have to have a conversation with him around this. This was a conversation with myself.
Yes.
But it shifts everything.
Yeah, because when we shift, it does. It shifts everyone else, for sure.
And I think there's this beautiful way in which when we come together in collectives that feel safe and that we can talk about all of these things, right? That we can talk about the scary things like money and sex, and it's a place to process so much of this. And it creates healing.
Yeah, it's a good place to put it too, because the piece that we didn't talk about with our releasings, if you will, that we just shared, is that generally there also is a lot of grief that comes with that.
Yeah.
So no matter how powerful and amazing this process of letting go can be, like I experienced a lot of melancholy the other day and a lot of grief. And again, like I wasn't even letting go of that person. I was just letting go of like actual, just like old stories with that person. So, I can only imagine the kind of grief that you had to process and coming to terms with, the clearing that you did, because that had the potential to change so many other relationships too.
Yeah. And I that's a really beautiful point for us not to skip over. There was a lot of grief that came up. And I think there was a time when I would have resisted doing this or thought, oh my God, maybe I didn't do the quote unquote right thing here because I now have grief and things to process. But I didn't have any of that. It was very clear that this was in highest service to all involved. But it brought up a lot of grief. And there was a lot of processing in our home around that. Yeah, and for myself. And I still actually have some moments where that grief will bubble up a little. Because letting go, even though I have an easier time releasing than you do, it doesn't mean that I don't feel all the feels around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And again, like being in a collective, like being part of something, you have a place to help you process that grief. So just bringing that back around too, like how important that can be. And that kind of brings us to a beautiful place of containers, if we want to step back in there.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit around containers in our last bonus episode, but Ava and I met in a mastermind container, and it's a place where we dropped in over a long period of time, over a couple of years, really intimately. And it helped to shape our relationship where it is today. And I was actually just on the phone with a sister, and she was asking me about those kind of like deep sisterhood relationships. And there's this interesting thing around not only the container that holds it and the space, but because I was paying to be there, I would show up. And sometimes that's what happens. It's really around showing up for each other. And so, yeah. And one of the things I didn't know I was looking for, but that I really benefited from the programs that we did, and it's why it's part of the program Remembering Divine Union that we'll be offering, is the intimate sister collectives that get together, the smaller groups of 4 or 5 sisters that meet weekly, where we really dropped in. I mean, I'm having a call tomorrow. I still have a monthly call with the sisters from my last intimate sister group, where we still meet monthly, even though that particular program's been over for 6 months.
Yeah, I find that many women do that. And I know, too, you and I and another sister, actually, I want to go there for a second.
Yeah.
So not only were we in a program together that really set, the foundation for our relationship, but there were these beautiful 11 days, actually. I'm pretty sure it was 11 days.
It was.
Which I think it's funny now that I'm thinking about it, but where I stayed in Shannon's home because she was there for training. So I stayed in her home for 11 days, and there was another dear, dear sister with us. And it was those 11 days that have created like immense magic in both of our lives. It just established this relationship between the three of us that is just everlasting and beyond lifetimes. I mean, it's not the first time, obviously, that we've been together, but, it's just like this really beautiful gift. And not only did it inform our relationships, but it's what really brought me to Asheville, my new home, which is like so my home. Like I can't even tell you how excited my body gets when I see the mountains if I'm not in Nashville. And then additionally, like our program, like it really, like the seeds for that, like were planted. The program that we're going to be doing, Remembering Divine Union, were planted there.
Yeah.
So there was just like this 11-day container, but I'm also going to call it a portal that was opened up to like create like all of these beautiful things in our lives. And so, this is done in a collective. Like there are 3 of us, 3 powerful women that created this container and this portal. And it's just so amazing to be witnessing all that's blossoming from it, if you will.
Yeah.
Those tiny, tiny seeds that were planted.
Well, and to bring it full circle, Anne, our third sister, is she's flying down at the start of our program in November, and she's going to open the 4 directions for us in the way of the First Nations of Canada, the First Nations people of Canada. And dude, it blows my mind.
And can I also just circle back and say this is almost exactly 2 years later, I think, when she'll be here and our program starts.
That's right.
It's amazing.
And so, yeah, that's the intention of the container that we're creating with Remembering Divine Union, is a container to drop in and become part of something bigger where we're all healing together. And we're healing that the sacred masculine and the divine feminine within each of us. And as we heal ourselves, we heal the planet. Like, it's just that simple. We heal the world. but we start with ourselves. Because sometimes I feel like, oh, we're going to heal the world. And it's like, dude, I don't want the responsibility of that. That feels onerous. But we're healing ourselves. And with that, we are, in fact, doing that. Through the activations and the initiation and the integration.
Yeah, because with each activation, we start to, because through the healing and the activation, like now there's space to start to radiate out more and more and more and more. And again, like as a collective, that's just magnified. And
it's a space where all things are welcome, where your fear and your grief and your sadness and your celebrations and your elation and talk of money, your shame, oh God, and talk of money and sex and shame, it'll all be there. Because
we've magic too.
Oh, and magic. Don't forget the magic.
So much magic.
Ava's bringing most of it, guys.
Well, we just have this beautiful dance, you and I, where we're like almost like that perfect like yin and yang, you know, we got that dot of each and can really like, I don't know, yeah, like you do that structure, like I still almost can't even grasp my head around the way that you do structure so beautifully and putting yourself out there so beautifully. Like we just have these amazing complementary gifts that we get to like put out into the world together.
Yeah, and then I step into your energetic magic space and I'm like, whoa, dude, where did this come from? It's so good. And sometimes I don't even realize how much the magic is creating because it's subtle often.
Subtle and unseen.
Yeah.
You know, it's this is sort of a silly example, but the other day I sent something on Facebook Messenger to my partner, and he wrote back like, "Is this a subtle hint?" And I almost responded, "I don't do subtle." And I was like, "No, just kidding. I'm all about subtle." But not in that way. Like, but I'm all about the subtleties. Like, and it's not even actually the subtleties though. Like, it's the unseen, right? Like, which is magic. And like working in this other dimension in some ways, like doing all this back end stuff, but not just, which actually, now that I think about it, I do a lot of back end. I do the back end for like our website, and then I do like the back end for the magic. It's kind of, I didn't really put that together like that.
I tend to show up a little more out front, on the front of the house.
Yeah. But it's beautiful. Yeah. And then we get to play and shift.
So if we're inviting people into a short practice to feel into energy space, what would that look like?
Yeah. Well, let's just do it.
Okay.
And see. So I would look like us finding a really cozy, comfortable, no, not cozy, but a comfortable seat where we're really feeling our root connected to the earth in some way, feeling our spine nice and tall. And we'll go in with 3 deep breaths. So taking an inhale down the front of the body, exhaling up the spine. This next one, so you inhale, allowing your yoni to bloom. Exhaling up the spine. One more collective inhale down the body. Exhaling up the spine and out the crown as we connect to source. So feeling yourself inside your body first to start. Now I want you to see beyond your body. So be in the void with me. Be in blackness. And then now if you can imagine yourself And just notice if there is, I want to do container and boundary a little bit. So notice if you can visualize something containing you. So a boundary around you that's holding you. Mine right now actually looks like this, it almost feels like the lights of Aurora Borealis, but it's like a dome over me. So it's like this cone over my head and around my body, but it's like really, it's like this light that's slowly moving. So my boundary, my energetic boundary right now, it's very like active, it's lit up, but it's not hard. So it is permeable, like things can move in and out, but only with the permission of that light. So if you can imagine something around you, what does it look like? For example, in the past, I've had what looked like swirling fireflies or glitter just swirling around my body. I've had times where I've had to like bring a door or like a hard stone wall like down in front of me to not let someone get in. So just noticing what comes around you. And then also notice if you find yourself somewhere. I'm in a park. Like, are you in the forest? Are you by the water? Are you out in the ethers? And so just noticing. Start to take another collective inhale down the front of the body. Exhaling up the spine. And then start to give yourself some shoulder rolls and wiggling your fingers and your toes. Or gently coming back to the here and now. Gently opening your eyes.
I yawned through the whole thing, so we know it was good.
Oh, awesome.
Total releases. And mine today was a blue dome, and I was out in the ethers, and the bottom of the dome was purple flame. So
mine was blue too. Oh. It was like an ice blue.
Oh, no, mine was more of a royal. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right, everyone. So that was entering some energy space for you to start to just play around. And that's another part. Like this, you don't have to take this really seriously. Just start to play with it. Oh, no, never, Ava says.
You can't take it seriously, then it doesn't work, I feel like.
I know, but this is my audience, so they tend to take things seriously.
Oh, right.
So when we warrior up, we need reminders that we don't have to take it seriously, that it's playful and to just play in it some.
Yeah, and just noticing too. So when you step into energy space, whatever that, it can look so many different ways. Yeah, just noticing what you feel, noticing what you hear, what you see. It's all there, and you're not making it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love, and we've talked about this before, but Martha Beck talks about, what if it's not your imagination? Like, what if it is just all real? What if it's just all true? What if you just allow it to be true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Ava and I have an invitation for you. We are doing 11 days of devotion to divine union, which is interviews with an amazing 13 people who we love and respect around divine union, how divine union shows up for them, how the sacred masculine and the divine feminine intertwine in their lives. These interviews are potent. They were amazingly fun to do. We basically just invited those that we wanted to jam with, and it became this little party for every interview.
/activation.
/activation. It's a party activation.
Yeah.
But they are really potent, and you can sign up for those. Those will start coming into your inbox next Monday on September 18th. And you can sign up for those over at rememberingdivineunion.com. Yeah. Whew. And following those, we're going to be doing a lot of energy activation calls. So if you're interested in dropping in around that, sign up for the 11 days, and then we'll do an energy activation call with you. We can schedule one of those with Ava and I.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Have a magical day.